If you told me 3 years ago that love would find me in the middle of my worst struggle, I would have laughed in your face. But life has a way of humbling you. When my father died, everything in my world collapsed with him. He wasn't a rich man, but he was steady. He was my shield, the one who made sure I never went to bed hungry. After his burial, reality slapped me hard. Bills piled up on the table like mountains, and each knock on the door filled me with dread. Creditors, landlords, relatives pretending to check on me but really wanting to see what was left of my father's belongings. Family, the same people who once swore we're here for you, suddenly had excuses. Everyone disappeared the moment I needed them most. Nights were the worst. I would lie on my thin mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to the dripping sound of water leaking through the roof whenever it rained. The loneliness was louder than the silence itself. I found a small apartment in a crowded compound. It wasn't much. Walls stained with age, the bathroom door that never locked, a ceiling fan that rattled louder than a generator. But it was what I could afford. The landlord was a man whose heart seemed made of stone. His eyes carried no sympathy, and he treated tenants like numbers on a ledger. Every month, he would knock with the same harsh tone. "Your rent is due." But his son, Chaik, was different. Chaik had this calm energy about him, like the world couldn't rush him. He would smile when he saw me balancing overloaded market bags, and before I could protest, he'd grab half of them, saying, "Careful, you'll break your back one day." Sometimes when I struggled to fix small things in my room, like a leaking tap or a blown fuse, he would show up with his toolbox, sleeves rolled up, sweat shining on his brown skin, and say, "Don't worry, I'll handle it. I'm better than any plumber or electrician here." I tried not to read meaning into his kindness. I told myself, he probably feels sorry for me. That's all this is. And I hated pity. Pity was poison. I carried myself with pride, even when my purse was empty. But the truth, deep down, every time his eyes lingered a second too long, every time his laughter filled the compound louder than anyone else's, something inside me stirred. Something I didn't want to name. Something I wasn't ready to admit. And little did I know, it was only the beginning. It was the rain that changed everything. That evening, the sky split open without warning. The compound flooded with water rushing through the gutters, and thunder rattled the cracked walls of my room. I had gone downstairs to fetch water when my foot slipped on the wet stairs. Pain shot through my ankle, sharp and burning. I gasped, gripping the railing, but before I could fall further, strong arms caught me. It was Chaik. His shirt clung to his chest, soaked from the rain. His breath came fast as he steadied me. "Don't move. You'll hurt yourself more." Before I could protest, he scooped me up as if I weighed nothing. My heart pounded louder than the thunder above. Inside my small room, he laid me gently on the bed. Water dripped from his hair onto the floor, forming little puddles. He looked around, saw my limp ankle, and without hesitation dashed out, returning minutes later with hot water and herbs. As he wrapped my ankle, he spoke softly, almost teasing. "You should be more careful. These stairs don't forgive carelessness." I tried to laugh, but my voice trembled. I guess I needed a hero tonight. When he was done, he stood to leave but paused at the door. Rain still roared outside. He glanced back at me, then to the small stove in the corner. Without asking, he rolled up his sleeves, chopped vegetables, and soon the aroma of pepper soup filled the room. I lay there, watching him move, and something shifted inside me. This wasn't pity. This wasn't casual kindness. It was care, real, patient, and deliberate. When he placed the steaming bowl in front of me, his eyes met mine. For a moment, the rain outside didn't matter. The pain in my ankle didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the warmth between us, unspoken but undeniable. That night, as I fell asleep, I knew something dangerous and beautiful had begun. Happiness never comes without a price. The days after that rainy night felt different. Chaik and I had crossed an invisible line. He visited often, sometimes under the excuse of checking if my ankle had healed, other times just to sit and talk. His laughter filled my little room like sunlight, and for the first time in years I felt alive. We would share stories about his childhood in the compound, about my father who had passed too soon. Sometimes, when silence stretched between us, our eyes would linger, our hands brushing accidentally. Every touch felt like fire, every glance like a promise unspoken. But the world outside my room was not so kind. One evening, as we stood near the compound gate talking in low voices, his father appeared. His heavy footsteps silenced the night. His eyes, sharp and disapproving, landed on us like daggers. "Chike," he barked, his voice thick with authority. "Is this what you spend your time on? With a tenant? With someone who has nothing?" Froze. My heart pounded in my chest as shame washed over me. I wanted to defend myself, to scream that I was more than nothing, but the words died in my throat. Chike tried to speak, his jaw tight with anger. "Father!" "Quiet!" his father thundered. "This girl will not drag you down. Do you hear me? She is beneath you." The words cut deeper than any blade. I lowered my eyes, tears stinging, and in that moment I wished the ground would swallow me. I turned to leave, but Chike's hand caught mine. His grip was firm, desperate. Eyes met. His father stood there, fuming, but in Chike's gaze I saw something stronger than fear, defiance. Still, I couldn't bear the humiliation. That night I lay awake, wondering if I should let him go. Wondering if love was worth the shame of being unwanted in his world. But my heart already knew the answer. Life has a strange way of humbling even the proudest hearts. After that confrontation at the gate, I avoided Chike's father as much as I could. His words stayed with me like scars I couldn't erase. But life is unpredictable. Weeks later, the same man who spat fire at me collapsed outside the compound, clutching his chest. Neighbors rushed forward, panic filling the air. Chike wasn't home that evening, and without thinking, I ran to him. His breathing was shallow, his once booming voice reduced to whispers. We carried him inside, and while others stood frozen, I boiled water, found pain balm, and sat by his side, dabbing his forehead with a cloth. For days I became his shadow, cooking, cleaning, even helping him sit up to take his medicine. He resisted at first, his pride wounded, but weakness forced him to accept my care. Slowly, the man who once called me beneath softened. One evening, as I placed a tray of food before him, he studied me with tired eyes. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. You are not the kind of girl I thought you were." Tears stung my eyes, but I held them back, nodding quietly. From that day, the hostility in his eyes dimmed. And though Chike didn't say it aloud, I could see the relief on his face. The wall between his father and me was crumbling, not with arguments but with compassion. For the first time I began to believe that maybe, just maybe, our love stood a chance. There is a difference between tolerance and true acceptance. I didn't realize it until that night. The change began quietly. The man who once looked at me with fire now watched me with a silence I couldn't read. For days he said nothing, but he didn't push me away either. The house felt lighter, as if his stubbornness was finally breaking piece by piece. One evening, after I had finished sweeping the small living room, I overheard voices from his room. Chike's tone was calm but firm. "Father, you can't choose who my heart belongs to." For a moment there was silence, then the older man sighed deeply. His voice cracked with age and illness. "I used to think she would drag you down, but I see now she has lifted even me up. Maybe she is exactly what you need." My breath caught in my throat. I leaned against the wall, trembling, unsure if I had imagined it. But when I turned, Chike was already standing in the doorway, his eyes bright with relief. He walked over, his steps slow but certain, and took my hand in his, right there in the open. His grip was warm, steady, unafraid. The same father who once condemned me simply watched, no longer with fury, but with quiet resignation, and something close to approval. In that moment the war was over. Not because I fought to win his love, but because kindness had done what defiance never could. It had softened a heart of stone. Sometimes peace doesn't last long. And love always has to prove itself. Just when I thought the storm was over, another one began. A week after his father's acceptance, the compound buzzed with whispers of a visitor. That evening I saw her myself, a woman dressed in silk, perfume announcing her before she even stepped through the gate. She hugged Chaik's father warmly, laughing as if she belonged there. Later Chaik told me in a low voice, "That's my father's choice for me. The one he wanted me to marry." My chest tightened. She was beautiful, polished, everything I was not. At dinner she smiled at me, but her words dripped with poison. "You're brave. Stepping into a life that was never meant for you." The room spun with silence. Chaik reached for my hand under the table, but doubt crept in like smoke. Was I really enough? Would love hold when a woman like her was the alternative? That night I sat outside under the moonlight, fighting tears. Chaik found me there. His face was hard, his jaw clenched. "Don't listen to her. If I wanted gold, I'd have chosen gold. But what I want is fire. And you." He touched my chest lightly. "You burn where others only shine." It should have comforted me, but deep inside I knew this was not the end of her. Women like that never disappear quietly. Love had survived his father's disapproval. Now it had to face jealousy, manipulation, and temptation dressed in silk.